While it was hardly the first to do so, Stephen Schwartz's musical take on Wicked popularized an entire subgenre of storytelling, the alternate perspective / revisionist fantasy, usually from a character deemed as villainous or otherwise not seen in a positive light in whatever the original story happened to be. Professor Moriarty got The Hound of the D'Urbervilles from Kim Newman, Maleficent got her own movie, as will Cruella in the near future from Disney, and in 2013, Jafar from, well, what else, Aladdin, got his own shot at redemption in the form of a Kickstarter-funded musical parody from Star Kid Productions, a Chicago-based theater group known for parodying big franchises like Harry Potter and Star Wars, but their gimmick being in musical form. With music by A.J. Holmes, lyrics by Kaylee McMahon, and a libretto by Eric Kahn Gale and Matt and Nick Lang, Twisted skewers not just Aladdin, but also a lot of the Disney fairy tales in a story that says Jafar was actually not an evil sorcerer bent on using the magic lamp to steal the kingdom and take all power, but instead was a good man whose ugly appearance and logical mindset put him at odds with the residents of the land, who were decidedly more in the clouds when it came to their worldview. We see him struggle against a corrupt administration, a spoilt princess, an incompetent sultan, and the antics of a no-good street rat driven by, well, decidedly lower inclinations as he tries to fix the rampant poverty and an oncoming war with the neighboring kingdom of Pixar. Now, to address the elephant in the room as to how I'm able to review what was a very limited run stage show on what is meant to be a series designed to analyze films, StarKid themselves actually recorded the production and put it up on their YouTube channel, making Twisted essentially a concept film. As far as cinematic technique or language goes, Twisted really is about as basic as can be, mostly comprised of wide and close-ups when needed to make sure you're always aware of who is on stage and when they come on. It's functional and that's all it really needs to be, though a shame they went with a handheld shooting method instead of having fixed cameras in the theater, as it does sometimes come off as a little bit amateur. As for the actual content, the show itself, one of the strongest things Twisted has going for it is a cast, most of whom often double up in multiple roles, who are fully embracing the over-the-top material and just running with it. Dylan Saunders plays Jafar and leads the charge with a deft hand, giving us a very sympathetic Jafar while also playing off the absurdity around him rather well. Saunders really benefits from having a wonderfully expressive face, accentuated by the makeup, and gets a lot of comic mileage out of it. Taking up the de facto villain role in this twisted fairy tale is Jeff Blim as, well, Aladdin, who undercuts his boyish good looks with a perverted and sleazy edge. Rachel Soglin as the princess hits the right blend of naive yet sincerely youthful and wide-eyed, which allows her to work well with Blim's predatory Aladdin and produce some good laughs out of it. It also helps that all three, and for that matter the entire troupe, have pretty good pipes on them and are rather good singers. Speaking of which, the songs by Holmes and McMahon are fun and definitely capture both the energy as well as the emotional stirring associated with Disney soundtracks, and a number of the tunes are parodies of famous Disney songs. Like the opening number being a parody of Bonjour from Beauty and the Beast, or Take Your Clothes Off from the second act, obviously making fun of A Whole New World. Of course, the titular song is easily the standout number, throwing in a few bonus cameos from Disney's Rogues Gallery and offering fun spins on familiar tales as Jafar faces a critical decision with the lamp. It's at once poignant as well as hysterical, and though it and frankly none of the other songs quite reach the level of the late great Howard Ashman's inventiveness, that would be a really unfair standard to hold the show against. And as for the actual narrative itself, what brings all these elements together, Twisted serves as both a satire as well as really a tribute to all things Disney, from various characters to movies to attractions to even elements of the company's own animation history, especially the Renaissance, are lampooned during the runtime. The show itself just has fun with the quirks of 90s Disney films, from the supposed subliminal messages, the rapid relationships and ethnic stereotypes, to the debatable morals and even the consequences of things seen as just cute little gags in the movies, like say the slapstick being lethal, or the visiting prince being mauled by Jasmine's tiger. It's a project clearly born of people who love this material and can not only poke fun at it, but celebrate its idealism and inspirational powers as embodied by the character of the princess, who ultimately represents the worst and best of Disney's female lineup, and, to an extent, Disney's own audience. But despite the barrage of very Zaz-style verbal and visual jokes, Twisted really crafts a compelling and often heart-wrenching story for Jafar's life. It draws clear parallels with many of the individuals who've joined Disney over the years, having him be this young, idealistic man with all these fresh new ideas who is swallowed by a system that is stubbornly against change and in turn limits his abilities to really fix problems. The Magic Kingdom literally steals his life and the people he loves away from him, leaving him a frustrated and tired old man whose efforts are thwarted through a combination of bad luck and the selfish motives of others. Sometimes, doing what's right doesn't automatically get you everything, not even respect from your peers. This is a very universal message and gives the show a lot more personal resonance than just being, well, a goofy slice of spoof fun, as well as a lot more dimension. However, there is one little quibble I have that does deflate the proceedings to an extent. The use of vulgarity in a number of jokes as well as the songs. It just feels uninspired and a means to get quick, cheap laughs out of the audience. I'm not a prude by any means, and as amusing as it might be to see Disney icons that we all knew growing up spouting the F and C and S bombs, it's a novelty that after the expletive-heavy opening number gets old pretty fast, honestly, and it feels like it unnecessarily limits the potential audience that Twisted could have appealed to. Surely with perhaps another redraft there could have been ways to make fun of familiar songs or character types without being excessively crass. Frankly, Twisted could have made a great double bill with the actual Aladdin, either the film or the now running and very popular stage musical, encouraging families, in particular children, to think about how there's always more sides than just one to really every story, and its moral is something that will be of great importance to them as they grow older, as well as speaking to their parents. Make them laugh and think, and it's a shame that Twisted didn't try to go for this approach. However, I'm not here to rewrite the material. And well, in the end, Twisted is a reminder that low-budget musical theatre can be every bit as creative, funny, and engaging as its bigger cousins on Broadway and the West End. It reminds us that there's more to life than just dreaming, and yet to also never forget to have those dreams. It'll make you laugh and even cry a few times. What could have been just a lazy rehashing of Wicked by way of Aladdin comes into its own and makes for a very satisfying experience that is very much worth checking out. And it certainly made me interested in more of Star Kid's work. Well done, guys. Well done. And by the way, is it just me or does Nick Cage look like Eric Idle? Huh.